Once again, folks, you are watching the Cowboys Report presented by the My TV Choice app. Download it today at mytvchoice.com to get rid of commercials during March Madness. As promised, let's move into my latest Cowboys mock draft for all of you to get upset about. Can't wait. That's why I like the draft, because there's all kinds of different opinions. So round 2, pick 58. Again, here's some of the guys on the board for me, and I'll be honest, if the draft falls like this, I might trade down like 7 spots and still get somebody fantastic. Dexter Lawrence is on the board. DEEBO Samuel, who I love. Taylor Rapp is there. Juan Thornhill. I'm kind of high on Christian Miller as well. But as I've done a bunch of these mock drafts, and you've seen several, I like my drafts when I go safety in round 2, because the talent tends to not quite be there in round 3. So I'm going to go safety in round 2. Give me Taylor Rapp. In terms of a player comparison, think of Jeff Heath, but he can actually tackle. I see Devin likes the Taylor Rapp pick. Jeff Heath, but Taylor Rapp is actually an elite tackler. One of the best in this year's draft class, if not the best among safeties. The dude doesn't really miss tackles. If he is there at number 58, I think it is a no-brainer selection. A really good partner alongside Xavier Woods. Kind of one of those hybrid types of safeties. And you take him, I actually think he starts over George Iloka and over Jeff Heath. And with the way George's contract is set up, I think it makes some sense to still take Taylor Rapp and still take a safety early. And it sets you up long term. Xavier Woods, Taylor Rapp, assuming Rapp develops, and I think he will under Chris Richard. That's a really good 1-2 punch at safety. So I'll be honest, in most of these mock drafts that I run, Taylor Rapp's not on the board. I'd be pretty surprised if he was on the board come pick 58 in the real draft, but we've seen stranger things happen. So why not Rapp there at number 58? All right, round 3, Anthony Nelson's on the board. O'Shane Ximenez is there. Rennell Wren, if you want a true interior defensive lineman. Nelson's kind of more of a hybrid type guy there. Mecole Hardman, who we mentioned earlier on in the show. And Darrell Henderson as well from Memphis. I'll go with the pick that I think the Cowboys might actually do. That's Anthony Nelson out of Iowa. Fits the mold of the super long and lanky, and oh, by the way, also happens to be a freak athlete. Now, he's not the prospect or player that this guy was, but in terms of his athletic profile, one of the closest comps for Anthony Nelson is Chandler Jones. I don't think he's going to be that good, but the production was really good this year for Anthony Nelson. Think of him as your down-the-road Tyrone Crawford replacement. A guy you can play at defensive end on base downs, can kick him into defensive tackle as well. And at some point, I don't think Crawford will be on this roster. Why not take Nelson? In round 3 again, in most cases, you're going to have a tricky time actually finding an impact day 1 starter in round 3. Michael Gallup's one of those exceptions. So Nelson in round 3, who, by the way, I think could be an option for the Cowboys in round 2, is really good value. I'll play him more at defensive end to open up his NFL career. Now, today's show is brought to you guys by the My TV Choice app. Go download it today at mytvchoice.com. And once you guys sign up and download it, you'll be entered to win a $50 Amazon gift card giveaway. And oh, by the way, if you guys DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney with a screenshot of you downloading the app, we'll hook you guys up with a second free entry to get that Amazon gift card. That's the My TV Choice app at mytvchoice.com. Let's move then to round 4. Hardman's still on the board. I got to be honest, really tempting for me, but receiver's not as big of a priority for me right now. Justice Hill is there. I'm very surprised to see Gerald Willis on the board. Michael Jackson is there too. Rodney Anderson as well from Oklahoma. So I got 2 backs I like, Justice Hill, Rodney Anderson. So let's go with the guy I did not think was going to be there, Gerald Willis. Many of you have mentioned him before. I am down with him in round 3, honestly. So if you get him in round 4, now you really set your defensive lineup for health. Now, there were some off-the-field red flags earlier in his college career. Didn't have a smooth transition from high school to college. And finally had his breakout year this year in 2018. Finally became the guy I think he can be in the NFL. Yes, only 4 sacks, but 18 tackles for loss. Now, he tends to play a little bit too upright. And it's kind of a go big or go home type player, where when it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, that play was a disaster, and they ran right at Gerald Willis, and The running back went for 35 yards. He'd be a 3 technique for the Cowboys. He can be a rotational piece, and Malik Collins' deal is up after this season. With everyone you have to pay, you can't keep everybody. Malik Collins strikes me as one of those guys you're not going to be able to keep. So there's your Malik Collins replacement looking long-term, and of course he'll help in year 1 on the interior for Gerald Willis. So move to the other round 4 pick. This is the comp pick. I'm sorry, Oklahoma State fans. Justice Hill went off the board for me on my draft simulator. So I can't take him, even though that's what I was going to do there. So instead I'm looking, okay, Hardman's there. I don't want a receiver, though, quite yet. I'm looking at backup running back. Let's get a little bit more aggressive here. Rodney Anderson in round 4, pick number 136. Now, injuries are a big, big red flag here, and I don't have access to his medical. I don't know how bad it actually is. There's been multiple knee injuries, but if he's healthy, he's one of the best backs in this year's class. Yeah, 2018 was mediocre. You saw the production in 2017, and he was trending that way already in 2018 before his injury. So you bring in Rodney Anderson. There's your more well-balanced back behind Zeke Elliott. And as we sit right now, the Cowboys have to take somebody. Zeke Elliott, Darius Jackson, Jordan Sean, that's not going to get the job done. And I'm not sure that you're going to see Rod Smith back on the Cowboys. Now, I'll pit the Oklahoma people against each other here. Which running back would you rather draft? Give me an A for Rodney Anderson, an H for Justice Hill. I spoiled my answer already, but if Justice Hill had been there in this mock draft, I would have taken him over Rodney Anderson. I like Hill quite a bit there. I don't know if he'd even actually be on the board in that final round 4 pick for the Cowboys. Let's move to round 5 then. I'm going to look offense here because I've mostly ignored it so far. Stanley Morgan's on the board. Keyshawn Johnson. No, not that Keyshawn Johnson. Foster Moreau, Trayvon Wesco if you want a tight end, which I'm tempted by. Brett Rippon as well. I'm going to go with Stanley Morgan. And I do this because much like Anthony Nelson, I think the Cowboys like him quite a bit. Think of him as like a Marquise Lee type player. Obviously, it's not going to be full-on instant day 1 Marquise Lee, but I like the idea of bringing in Stanley Morgan. He's not going to be your slot receiver right away. He's a round 5 pick. But I think if you let Randall Cobb leave after the season, well, then you're fine. There's your replacement. You can still keep Cedric Wilson on the outside. By the way, I think he had a pretty quiet 1,000-yard year, given Nebraska's quarterback issues consistently. They were down to their backup in reality this year because the other backup transferred away. So I like the idea of Stanley Morgan here to the Cowboys. Overall, a well above average athlete given his size and his agility abilities. So developmental type receiver, I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually a round 4 pick. Now today's show, folks, is brought to you guys by BetDSI. If you're trying to bet on March Madness, the best way to do it is with on BetDSI. Chatsports.com/bet takes you right to the site, and use that promo code Cowboys120 for a 120% deposit bonus. You will not find a better betting deal out there. And oh, by the way, for you draft fans, they'll have plenty of NFL draft prop bets as well. Let's listen then to round 7. Pick number 241. Bryce Love's on the board, which I'll be honest, kind of makes me regret the pick of Rodney Anderson. We should have taken Bryce Love in round 7. Malik Carney, I'm intrigued by. Donald Parham, Savion Smith, and oh look, there's Austin Bryant, the edge rusher in round 7. He's kind of like the defensive version of Bo Scarborough for me. I don't love him as a prospect. He's going to have a day 3 grade for me when it's all said and done. But in round 7, I am all for it. Look, now remember, guys, 7th round picks are mostly flyers. They're typically not going to pan out. The production is good, there's no doubt about that one, but I don't think he's a fantastic athlete, still pretty unpolished in terms of the way he plays, but in round 7, I'm all for it. And if he's on the board in round 7, or if the Cowboys move into round 6 for him, I'll be pretty pleased by it. I think it's a really good value pick there. Yeah, it's a lot of edge rushers, but let's just factor in some potentiality for some bad DeMarcus Lawrence stuff, or even beyond that. There's no guarantee Kerry Hyder makes the roster this year, and maybe end up trading away Taco Charlton at some point too as well. So let's recap then my 2019 mock draft, volume 2. Taylor Rapp, the safety out of Washington. If he's on the board, sign up. That is a fantastic pick if he's there for the Cowboys. By the way, for those of you wondering, Jonathan Abram was not on the board. Anthony Nelson in round 3, a Tyrone Crawford type in terms of the way he plays. I think he'd be a great selection in round 3. I wouldn't be that surprised if he was the Cowboys' round 2 pick. I'd prefer safety, but Anthony Nelson, round 3, good selection there. Gerald Willis, again, it's about the value for me. 128, I love it there. Needs some development, but out to the top 125, if you can get a rotational defensive lineman, that's a hit. Rodney Anderson, number 136. I was disappointed to have Justice Hill off the board, literally 2 picks before me. That was frustrating. Stanley Morgan, your future slot receiver, in theory at least. The Cowboys, by the way, are pretty high on him. And then your 7th round pick, Austin Bryant out of Clemson. It's a flyer. It's worth trying. So grade my latest mock draft, guys. A, B, C, D, or F. I love the draft because you've got all kinds of different opinions there. And there are less wrong ones. There are some that are still fairly wrong. But let me know what you guys think. A, B, C, D, or F. Feel free to let me know why in the comments section as well. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.